Hey everyone, it is Coach Jeevers, and this is my first Facebook Live. I hope that you enjoy it, and this is going to be one of many more. And so I'm excited to fly here to San Diego. I actually brought my dad with me. You won't see him right now, but you'll probably see him later on. And yeah, this is going to be really great because I have always kind of wanted to do this because I think it would be really fun to be able to explain some kind of philosophies and some nutritional kind of ideas with you, as well as kind of show you some products as well too. And so the first topic that I am going to be talking about is weight loss, because this is obviously, many of you know, it is a very very big passion of mine. I have been doing childhood obesity studies for I've done over 6 of them, and I've kind of been talking about weight loss in the realms of products and nutritional philosophies and movement and all that sort of stuff for a long time. And so I'm glad to be sharing this with you right now, right? And so here's the thing, right? I don't know if many of you have been watching the news lately, but the big story right now is the fact that Americans, I guess, have given up on losing weight, right? And how they kind of found this data, if you will, is that they looked at all of the individuals who were on weight loss plans or diet plans last year, and then they looked at how many of them were on this year, starting this year, and they realized that there was less of them. And so now they're saying, oh, I think the reason for that is because people are more accepting of their weight and they're more accepting of their size and things like that. And I think that there's a little bit of truth to that, but I think there's a lot to truth with the fact that people are just fed up. They're just tired, they're disappointed, they're depressed, they're all of those things that, have made them, just throw their arms up in the air and say, listen, I just can't do this, And here's the thing, right, is that at the very end of the day, I always talk to people about the fact that weight loss may be simple, but it definitely is not easy. If it was easy, if it was about one product, if it was about one nutritional plan, if it was about one exercise, then everybody would be at their proper weight. Okay, and I think that's hard for kind of people to understand because we're always kind of chasing these magic potions or these bullets or these philosophies that new books come out all the time on why people are fat and how you should lose weight and how you should be eating. And some people have success and some people don't, and it just makes it so not only confusing, but more importantly, it's not always fit for everyone. And that's why it's so tough. And so here's the thing, right, is that whenever I'm talking to people about weight loss, and specifically fat loss, and you know how I like to kind of change that word weight to fat because it's so easy to lose weight, right? There's so many different components or elements of weight, right? There's water weight, and there's muscle weight, and there's bone density, and there's fat, there's all those things. And then unfortunately, when people come out with these weight loss plans, you end up definitely losing weight, but you don't end up losing the right type of weight, which then causes you all of these kind of health issues, or you end up gaining your weight back and all that sort of stuff. And so this is why, like, over the past, 18 years, even for me, my philosophy of fat loss or weight loss has changed. With new data and new research comes new ideas, comes new techniques. And you know what I've realized? That all of them work. And many of you have kind of, been in some of my presentations, and one of the things that I did a few years ago is I went out there and I went on Facebook and I looked at people that were doing the cabbage soup diet, and I looked at people that were doing the Atkins diet and the South Beach diet and the Zone diet and the low carb diet and all of these different diets. And you can obviously find like these Facebook groups. And I just kind of emailed them and I said, hey, listen, I didn't ask them if they had continued to lose their weight. I just asked them, when you were on this program, did you lose weight? And every one of them said, yes, I lost weight. Okay? And what that made me believe or understand or know is the fact that there is a lot of different ways for individuals to lose weight. And you know what it really depends on? It really depends on two things. It depends on intensity and time. And those of you that were at my presentation, I talked about intensity and patience. And what I mean by that is that depending on how intense you are with whatever program that you're on, you are going to be able to shorten that time, or you're going to be able to lengthen that time. And that's one of the things that's obviously kind of a universal thing in all type of life, right? Success, development, whatever you want to do in your life, depending on how intense that you're going to get, you're going to be able to do it in a shorter time or a quicker time. Well, nutrition and weight loss and fat loss and all of that sort of stuff is that very same thing. And people don't get that, right? They wanna do just a little bit and then expect a lot of weight loss or fat loss. They want to be able to say, well, I still want to be able to cheat, and I still want to be able to have that meal, or I still want to have to, well, I can't do it all week. Maybe if I do it 3 times a week, and maybe I can't do it for dinner, but I'll do it for breakfast and lunch, which is fine. It's totally cool to do whatever you need to do for that. But then you have to set your expectation right. You have to understand, well, then if I'm willing to do that, then these are the results that I probably am going to get, right? And so anyways, you kind of go through that whole thing, but one of the questions I saw on Facebook, somebody said, hey, listen, can you kind of give us a little bit of like motivation or inspiration on losing weight, and give us reasons why we should be doing so. Here's the thing, okay, right, is that I can't be your motivation, and I can't be your inspiration. You got to be your own motivation. You got to be your own inspiration. I can cheerlead you on. I can provide you education. I can provide you tools. I can provide you all that support. But at the very end of the day, you got to do it. And the only way or the only reason that you're going to do it is because it means a lot to you. I'm reading this book right now, and it has this kind of colorful way of personal development, and it's a book called The Subtle Art of Not Giving a F, by the way, okay, right? And it's no different than most other development books or things like that, but it uses some colorful language. But one of the things that he talks about is he talks about the struggle. And I think Mary Lou Henner talked about this as well too, like choose your struggle or something like that, right? And he's so right. In this book, he talks about, listen, everything's a struggle. Like once you get your mind right and your mind understanding that everything is a struggle, relationships are a struggle, holding your emotions together is a struggle, being successful is a struggle, losing weight is a struggle, and taking good care of yourself and others, everything is a struggle. And once you get your mind right to everything being a struggle, then you will understand what struggles you are willing to embrace and what struggles you are not willing to embrace. Everybody always says, gosh, Jeevers, it's amazing, you're so healthy and you're at the right body weight, or you're at this or you're that and all that sort of stuff. So you must really enjoy working out. You must really enjoy eating right. You must really enjoy. Here's the thing, I don't compared to just kind of laying around. I don't mind. Trust me, eating a bunch of kale and broccoli and dry vegetables and all that is not as fun as eating donuts. Like just neurologically, I can tell you from a scientific standpoint, you are going to have more joy eating those things than eating those bitter-like foods and fibrous-like foods and things that are tough on the digestive system and all that. So it's just, but the difference is it's not that it's about enjoying the struggle. It's just about embracing the struggle. It's about saying, listen, I know what it's going to be like, but I'm okay with it. And the reason why I'm okay with it is because once I embrace this struggle, I am then going to be truly able to enjoy all the fruits of that struggle. And I think that's the biggest difference between people who are successful at losing weight or losing fat and those that are not. Some of us choose to embrace the struggle to whatever degree, and some don't. It's like oftentimes I'll see people giving me all of the reasons why they shouldn't be taking the youngevity products. They do know why do you have this ingredient, and I don't show me the science on this, and this doesn't taste right, and this is hard to mix, and this clumps, and this is and sometimes I have to ask them, are you just telling me reasons why you shouldn't take this product? Or are you trying to find out reasons to take the product? Because it's two different types of conversations. And so whenever we're looking at this type of weight loss or fat loss, it's, are you conversing with yourself about reasons why you shouldn't be doing something? Or are you conversing the majority of the time of why you should be doing something? And I wanted to just kind of start this off like that, because no matter how great these products are, no matter how well the plan is laid out, no matter what nutrition that I tell you to do, it doesn't really matter, because none of these things is the magic. None of these things are going to cause you to be the primary reason why you will lose fat and why you will lose weight. You are the primary reason of why you will be able to lose weight and lose fat. You are the primary reason why you will be able to be healthy. And once you get yourself right in the head, then these other things and support and people and community and all that sort of stuff will be able to help to accelerate that. And I think that for those of you that have been struggling to losing weight, and listen, I've been here for 5 years, and I have heard from the same people oftentimes every year. And you know when it comes? It comes right after we award the 2000 whatever weight loss winners or transformation winners or healthy body challenge winners at convention. I get a flood of you people saying, you know what, Jeevers, this is going to be my year. I'm going to be on that stage next year. I'm going to win that grand prize. And you have this look of passion, and you have this look of commitment, and this look of dedication, and this look of want and desire, and it doesn't happen. And then you've got all of the reasons why it didn't happen. And it's that, oh, I had all of these events, or I had some sort of a personal issue or professional issue or things like that. Listen, there are people out there right now who take personal issues and professional issues, and they use that as a springboard to become healthier. I personally am that person. I am personally the person who has currently taken a personal situation and used it as a springboard, as a fire, as an ember to do more, not only with my health, but with all of your health. It's how you choose to take those things. And so therefore, the first thing is you got to get yourself into the right mindset, and you got to do it consistently, because every year, every month, every week, every day, every choice is a struggle. It will be a struggle. It will be a struggle to not go out while others are going out. It will be a struggle to mix a shake at nighttime while the rest of the family is eating foods. It will be a struggle not to want to taste something that's a little bit sweet because I deserve just a little bit something that was sweet because I went all day to be so good. It will be a struggle to say, hey, I know it's 9 o'clock at night, but I haven't had my 35 minutes of exercise, so I'm going to walk around the block, and I live in Michigan or I live in New York and it's cold and I'm going to have to bundle up and do that. Every choice will be a struggle, and you will choose whether you are willing to embrace that struggle or not. Do not fool yourself into thinking that you will love that struggle or you will enjoy that struggle. I hear it from people that they say, oh no, Jeevers, I love it. I just love eating. It makes me feel so good. It makes me feel, and I guess, hey, listen, I'm not trying to judge. I'm not trying to say yes or no, but I am just trying to say for me, okay, right? For me, it's not about enjoyment. It's just about saying, okay, listen, this is what needs to get done for me to get those things that I know that I'm going to enjoy. So anyways, that's kind of my little pep talk, and hopefully that was even like peppy for you. Maybe it was like depressing or disappointing. But anyways, and so here's the thing, okay, right? So now it's about the philosophy of weight loss, okay, right? And so one of the other things that I started to do actually in Greenville, South Carolina. I had a project. The CEO there, Mike Reardon, was like, listen, we want to develop all of these nutritional plans for different types of disease management states. And so like cardiac heart disease, diabetes, post-chemotherapy, autoimmune. Like he had kind of picked the major categories of health issues that were out there, and we had just built a nutrition science center, and so we wanted to build kind of nutritional programs for all of them. And so he made me kind of research what are the nutritional things that they should do, what are the principles, okay, right? And so here I am for like 3 months. I used to start going through all of the research or studies about what is the right type of proteins and carbohydrates and fats and types of foods and what foods should they avoid and all that sort of stuff, depending on the types of disease management states, right? And so I'm doing all of this, and I realize after the 3 months, when I start compiling this data together and comparing it, I'm looking at it, I'm like, dude, it's like 90% like all the same. Like, sure, there are certain foods that some individuals would kind of avoid because it's not so great for them, because of some of the therapies that they're going through or some of the medications that they're on. There may be some foods that have a little bit more flexibility in some groups than others. But if you take a look at all of them, 90% of the diets, of the nutritional lifestyles, they're all the same. They're telling you to do the same thing. And the very core of all that is actually the very core of what weight loss is all about. And listen, this isn't going to come like anything like earth-shattering to you guys, okay, right now, because you've heard it a million times, okay, right? Especially the last 10 years after they've kind of debunked the whole low-fat philosophy, okay, right? And the whole key to this is that you must significantly restrict or reduce the amount of sugars that your body takes in. I know, it's not rocket science. It's sugar. It's the one thing that is the commonality between all of those plans, and every, by the way, weight loss plan or fat loss plan that has consistently showed success in research. You will see that it is the significant restriction or reduction of sugars. And sugar is also in the same conversation as carbohydrates. And the reason for that is because you can consume other foods, specifically in this category, protein and fats, to construct the necessary nutrients that you were getting from carbohydrates. So because you can construct things that are needed from carbohydrates, from proteins and fats, why would you need to consume as much of these carbohydrates when you're consuming the other two? And the thing is, you can't construct the things that you need from protein, from carbohydrates, and you can't construct the things that are from fat from carbohydrates. So you're stuck. It doesn't go the other way around. So therefore, this whole kind of research began is, why do you need so much carbohydrates? Now, this is a separate conversation to the fact that carbohydrates were cheap and that they were great fillers. And the number one thing is that the food industry knew that because carbohydrates broke down as sugars, and sugars had a neurological response of pleasure and pleasing, that the more that they put those that carbohydrates in foods, it caused addictions, and because you had those addictions, you would buy more of those foods, etc., etc. That is a very important conversation, but that's the second part of this, okay, right? The first part of this is saying, okay, listen, if I'm going to eat right, if I'm going to consume the right types of foods, for, by the way, all of these disease management states, also including weight management and fat loss, then I should be watching out for this one evil thing, which is called carbohydrates, okay, right? And I know what many of you are going to say, hey, I read the research, and the nutritionists oftentimes, we need carbohydrates. Carbohydrates breaks down, and it gives you that immediate sugar into the brain, and so it gives you that sense of energy and all that sort of stuff. I agree with that. I agree with that. I'm not saying that, okay, right? What I am saying is that we took that and then we said, wait a second, we're consuming way more of those things than we actually need to perform those. And by the way, we may not necessarily need that energy that's coming from those carbohydrates if we're consuming those other foods in the right proportions and the right quality of those foods. And so when you get the right quality of fats, and those are good, healthy fats, and they're able to be broken down just as easily as a carbohydrate, when you need that energy, you're able to access that fat, which, by the way, you can get even more energy out of the fat than the carbohydrate because it's more dense in energy. So anyways, that's, so I just want to say something quick, is that's the whole point of this kind of fat loss and weight loss thing, is that how do you consume less of something that your body doesn't actually need, and how do you consume less of something that if you overconsume it, it's going to have a quick turnaround to something that's unhealthy. If you consume more protein than you should, it doesn't have as quick of a turnaround to turning into something that's unhealthy. If you consume the right types of fats and you consume too much of it, it doesn't have a quick turnaround to being something that's unhealthy. But if you consume too much carbohydrates, you are going to have a quick turnaround to something that's unhealthy. And so that's why I want you to understand why carbohydrates isn't something that is right for you, whether you're on a weight loss plan or a fat loss plan, or even something that is just how to get more healthy. It's interesting, and I love what Dr. Wallach always had the right philosophy in weight loss. He never came out with a weight loss plan. Do you notice that? I mean, 50 years. The guy's like a pioneer in everything. Why didn't he come out like Dr. Dean Ornish or Dr. Mark Hyman or Dr. whoever and created a 30-day weight loss program? Did you ever wonder why he didn't do that? The best that he did was that he put a 10 good and bad food list. But he knew how bad weight loss was. He knew how bad obesity was. He knew the destruction that it caused individuals. Like, why didn't he do that? Here's the reason why he didn't do that. Is because being overweight is a symptom of being unhealthy. So understand that. Being overweight is a symptom of being unhealthy. If you are overweight or if you are not at the right body composition, you are unhealthy. I know it sucks for you guys to hear, but that's a fact. Most probable than not, if you are not at the right body composition, you are not healthy. You may take all the supplements that you want and all the vitamins and follow Dr. Wallach's protocols and all that sort of stuff. And let me tell you something. If you are still not at the right body composition, something is wrong. And it isn't that you're piling on too much food into your mouth. It's the fact that you feel like you have to pile too much food into your mouth because you are not nutritionally satisfied. This is why Dr. Wallach believes in the deficiency syndrome. When you are deficient, you will become unhealthy. When you become unhealthy, you will begin to do unhealthy things. You will begin to consume the wrong types of foods. You will begin to consume too much food. You will begin not to be able to move around. You will, because of the hormonal imbalances that you have, because you are deficient, you will not be able to have a positive mindset and a positive mood and positive emotions. And so therefore, or it will be more difficult for you to do those things, which will then cause you to what? Do things that will cause you to be overweight. No one ever died from being overweight. No one ever got a disease from being overweight. They died or they got a disease because they did all of these things that then caused them to be overweight. When you eat that toxic food, when you don't move around, when you eat too much carbohydrates, when you eat too much sugars, when you do eat too late, when you do all that sort of stuff, those things cause you to be unhealthy. Those things are what causes you to have disease and illness. And while that's happening, your body responds by getting itself out of the right proper body composition, which is you are now overweight. So, you know how to get to the right weight? You know how to get to fat loss? You know how just get as healthy as you possibly can. And the reason why Dr. Wallach never needed a 30-day program and never needed to tell you how many calories you should be eating and how many is because he just said, listen, just get super healthy by following the 10 good and bad food list. Start moving around, take away this, take away that. And you know what? In essence, fill in those deficiencies. And for the majority of you, you are going to become healthy. And when you are healthy, you will get to all of the benefits of being healthy, which is at the right body weight and at the and all that sort of stuff. And so that's why I love the philosophy of that, is that we'll just get super, super healthy. And so one of the things to be super healthy is don't consume the wrong types of foods. And the wrong types of foods are these carbohydrates. And so here's the thing, right? And so over the past 3 years or 4 years now, right? We've come out with all of these different types of tools, okay, right? Whether it was the Slender FX system, okay, right? Like the Slender FX shake and the Sweeties and the food fiber and the Cleanse FX and all that sort of stuff. And then the keto program, right? We created Rev, right? And Rev was attached to all of these programs along with the low calorie, high nutrient density program, that whole the nutritional philosophy that went with the previous product ASAP. That whole thing was just basically saying, listen, what you need to do is you need to take in lower calories, but we're going to make sure that if you're going to take in lower calories, we're going to give you a high nutrient density. And you're actually going to see a whole new revision of that program here in the next week. And you'll see that I've redone the nutritional and the food choices to make sure that you're going to choose the most dense, the most nutrient dense foods, because I know that you're not going to be taking in a lot of food because it's lower calories, and I don't care about how many calories you take in. I care about how much nutrient density or nutrients that you're getting in. And so you've got that. And then you've got the keto plan that focuses on different compositions of proteins, fats, and carbohydrates. And I'll dig into that here in a second. But I just want you guys to realize, what is the commonality between all of those programs? It's the same thing. Either restrict or significantly reduce the food that your body doesn't need because it can make it from other places and significantly reduce or restrict the one food that has a quick turnaround to something that's unhealthy, which is sugars and carbohydrates. So they're all the same plant. And so sometimes there was a question on Facebook that said, how is it that Rev can be used in all programs? Well, the reason why Rev can be used in all programs is because its focus, its number one focus, is to restrict the breakdown and absorption of sugars and carbohydrates. Its second primary focus is to be able to stimulate the fat cells so that when you're on a nutritional plan like that, you are going to force fat from these fat cells, and it just doesn't evaporate, it just doesn't go poof. It needs to be transported into the bloodstream, into the liver, packaged up in the liver, and then eliminated from the body. Well, you can help to support that process. You can help to stimulate that process. It's kind of like the oil in an engine. The oil makes everything just run smoother. Well, when we developed Rev, we said, number one, every weight loss program, fat loss program that we ever put together is going to be a low carbohydrate program, because that's the only ones in research that has shown to allow people to lose weight. When you are on a low carbohydrate program, you have the ability to access fat stores. Okay, stop. So what are the two things I can do? Number one, I can make sure that we hinder, or whatever it is, help to block the breaking down of carbohydrates and sugars so they're not released. And so I can do that. Okay, that's one way I can help to fuel the body, or to smooth, the grease the wheels, if you will. Okay, right? And then the second thing I can do is that, because I know that when they're on that program, it will release fat. So what can I do to make sure that it gets repackaged real quick and eliminated? Because if I don't, I'm not going to get the repackaging. If I don't get the repackaging, then I get the recycling. And then all of a sudden I get this reabsorption of the fat. This is why people have such a hard time when they're overweight to lose weight. It's because they have so much toxicity in the body. Their liver is all clogged up. They don't have enough of the systems that allow the repackaging to happen. So they get on a low carb lifestyle or whatever it is. They start exercising. They start releasing this fat from these fat cells. And what happens? They just kind of float in the bloodstream, waiting to get repackaged, waiting to get in the liver. The liver is all clogged up, doesn't do anything. And so after a while, it's like, okay, dude, I guess my train has left the station, so I'll just get reabsorbed in the body, and it gets put back into these fat cells. And they're like, I don't know why I don't lose weight. Because you're super toxic. That's why you can't lose weight. You got to get super healthy first. You got to stop worrying about necessarily your fat and your weight and start focusing on how do you reduce this toxicity? How do you clean out this body? How do you get the liver functioning properly? How do you get all of that stuff? And so then therefore, when you do have these opportunities, that your body actually has the ability to eliminate this fat, use this fat, right? So anyways, so that's why it's such a universal thing. It's hard for people to understand it because they always think one thing has to focus on one plan or one thing has to focus on one condition. When you understand that the one thing is a solid nutritional plan, and because that is going to be the secondary reason, because you're the primary reason of why you're going to lose weight, the secondary reason is because you got on a really great nutritional plan, and it's going to cause your body to behave in a certain way. What you then need to do is use products or use tools to help to accentuate those processes. So here's the thing, for those of you, just real quick, that are not on a nutritional plan and who would love to believe all of these kind of things out in the marketing, you don't need to eat right. You can eat whatever you want. You can do this, and you just need to take this product or take this or do all that sort of stuff. Guys, if it was that easy, everyone would be thin. It's not. Your first thing has to be a solid nutritional plan. It has to be something that you can do consistently. And here's the thing, just real quick, okay, right? Is that it was funny because Michelle I was talking to her the other day, and I said, one of the things that just bugs the heck out of me is when somebody asks me for more recipes. Can I have more recipes? I want more recipes. If you're on a maintenance plan, go ask me for more recipes. If you are on a weight loss plan, if you are on a program for 90 days or 120 days, forget your recipes. Find a few recipes and eat them every day. And get used to the struggle of eating the same thing every day, because that's what it takes. In my opinion, the number one evil of being able to do something is too much variety. Is too much freedom, is too much flexibility. If you look at anything, again, a great friend, he just won a Super Bowl this year. Again, his 5th one. Hey, Tommy, so did you, like any new plays this year? Any new things you guys are doing? No, we don't do different plays. We do the same ones, and we just do them really, really great. And it's really hard to do things really, really great when you're changing things up all the time. And you know what? Sometimes weight loss, all the time. Weight loss and fat loss and doing things like this is more a psychological thing than a physiological thing. And sometimes you got to get your mind right to say, what am I willing to do and what am I not willing to do? And am I willing to eat the same thing all the time? Do I have to have different tastes in my mouth? Do I have to have different textures in my mouth? Do I have to have different types of foods all the time? And if that's the case, maybe you got a psychological issue. Maybe you got a thing that says, listen, I just am not willing to do what it takes. And I'm sorry, I'm not trying to say I'm right. I'm not trying to say I'm wrong. I'm just trying to say that is me, and that is what I have seen really, really works. Is because when you start getting into that mindset, it bleeds into everything else. It bleeds into why you're doing all of those things like exercise and why you're thinking up every morning and saying, okay, what can I do today to be healthy? People that are on any type of goal wake up every morning and say, how do I get closer to that goal? That's the first thing that they think of in their mind. And they consistently think of that every second of the day, because every second you are going to have to make a choice. And you want to make sure that that choice is driven by your goal. So you must keep remembering what your goal is. So anyways, that went on a different topic. So here's the thing, guys, is that what we've got right now, one of the major things that I saw a lot of questions about was the keto program, okay, right? So let me just kind of briefly touch on the keto thing here, and I know I'm at 37 minutes and totally cool if you guys have something else to do, okay, right? And so this will be recorded, okay, right? And so the keto program, it's a philosophy, right? And this keto philosophy has been around since like the 1920s, okay, right? And this keto philosophy basically all started in the fact that, they started taking these neurological patients, okay, right? Individuals with brain types of deficiencies, if you will, specifically seizures, okay, right? And putting them on nutritional lifestyles. And these set of doctors said, hey, listen, the brain is made up of 90% fat, so maybe we should give these, kids, they were kids at the time, kids more fat and see what happens. And they ended up giving these kids more fat and eating more fat, and their seizures went away. Okay, right? And they were like, oh my gosh, it looks like we've touched on a nutritional lifestyle that will help these neurological patients. And they started doing it with other patients as well too, Parkinson's patients, MS patients, things like that. And that's why you'll notice, what does Dr. Wallach say? If you have these types of movement disorders, make sure that you eat 8 to 10 eggs a day. Why? Because it has a lot of these healthy fats, healthy cholesterols, transporters, things like that. So anyways, they started doing that, and then they realized, like after a few years, that some of the people that were overweight got to the right weight. They ended up losing weight. But not only did they lose weight, they said, oh, they have different muscular structures. They felt that the kids had the right body composition. They looked at them and they diagrammed and they said, oh my gosh, these kids, they just don't look like they lost weight. They look like very fit. They look more muscular. And they realized, oh my gosh, this plan that we're putting these kids on are allowing them not only to lose weight, but to maintain muscle mass. And that's always been kind of the big thing, is that how do you lose weight and be able to maintain muscle mass? Because the problem is that like all of these diets like Atkins and cabbage soup and all that sort of stuff, you end up losing weight, but you end up losing, yes, water weight, but the major weight that you lose is muscle. That's why you will notice a lot of them after they get through with their program, they look very gaunt, their shoulders look very thin, their arms look thin, yet they still have weight around their stomach and their sides, and then women still have weight around their thighs and their butt, right? And their hips. Well, now it may be less, but it's still there. It looks disproportionate to the amount of weight that they have lost in their face and their shoulders and their arms and their lower legs. Well, that's because this is a great deal of where your muscle is, okay, right? Your chest area, your chest, your butt, and your back have the largest amount of muscle, okay, right? And so all of a sudden, you lose this muscle mass, and the problem with losing muscle is that is one of the 2 places that the body will take these excess calories that are in these fat cells, or take this nutrition that's in the fat cells and use it for energy. So remember, this fat, it gets squeezed out, it then gets repackaged. It can either go to the liver for storage and elimination, or it gets used into muscle tissue. And so there's all of these receptors on muscles that will suck in all of these calories, either from this excess fat or from the foods that we eat, and then it puts it into these engines called the muscle, and it burns it. Well, if you lose the muscle mass, you've then lost all of the engine to be able to burn the calories that you are consuming or releasing from fat. So that's why the trick is how do I maintain muscle mass or gain muscle mass while I'm on this weight loss journey? So anyways, they did this, and then it fell out of favor when everybody was like, oh my gosh, it's fat. Fat is like, oh no, they did that 7-country study where they found that, okay, those countries that had eating less fat, which was totally wrong, had less heart disease and all that sort of junk. And so anyways, and then it just fell out of favor. And then because that whole thing got debunked a little while ago, this thing reemerged. That's the whole point of the whole ketogenic plan, okay, right? And the ketogenic plan is really simple, okay, right? It's consume high amounts of healthy fat, moderate protein, and low to restrictive carbs, okay? Same thing as everything else, like I told you before, okay, right? And so Atkins is what? High protein, moderate fat, low to restrictive carbs, okay, right? Zone diet, what? Moderate protein, moderate fat, low to restrictive carbs. This is what I'm trying to say to you guys. It's all the same thing, okay, right? And so this one happens to be high fat, moderate protein, okay, right? And so, and the whole philosophy behind that, by the way, is the fact that the body wants to burn fat because fat is the cleanest burning energy source, and it is the most energy dense source. So for every gram of fat, you have 9 units of energy. For every gram of protein, you have 4 units of energy. For every gram of carbohydrates, you have 4 units of energy. if your body is going to be efficient, which it is the most efficient machine on the face of the earth, it is going to want to store grams of fat rather than grams of protein or grams of carbohydrates, because for every time it releases 1 gram, it's going to get more energy out of it, and your body wants to have more energy. That's the very cool thing about the body, okay, right? So therefore, it's set up properly to do 2 things: store the right type of fat and also be able to break down fat. See, that's the thing. The body wants to break down fat. It's actually physiologically set up to do so. But then what happens is, remember what I said earlier, the body is the most efficient machine on the face of the earth. And efficiency is all about training and teaching. So when you teach your body to do something, it is going to do that thing more efficiently the next time, the next time, the next time, the next time. And so then essentially what happens is, this is why, just real quick, why you don't want to have negative thoughts. Because if you have negative thoughts over and over and over again, your body begins to wire itself so that anytime you get into a situation, the first thing you think about is a negative thought rather than a positive thought. Anyways, that was a side note. And so the same thing about weight loss is that here you are, your body starts eating fat. Mother's milk is fat, you know, during child development, you're eating a lot of things that are fat, which is awesome. That's what the body wants to do. It does it very efficiently. It develops organs and tissues in the brain and all that sort of stuff the right way. And then all of a sudden, we stop and we switch it over to eating carbohydrates. And we start giving it cereals and processed foods and breads and grains and all that sort of stuff. And then the body says, oh my gosh, it looks like now I'm getting more carbs than I am fat. So I better start rewiring myself to what I'm given most. So then it rewires itself to then take in carbohydrates. But it's never as efficient as doing it with fat. And it's not really set up for that. So then it just allows you to function. So then here you are, you've taught yourself to eat more carbohydrates, or you've given your body the opportunity to eat more carbohydrates. You do it with great intensity. So because you do it with great intensity, your body then rewires itself. But here's the thing, just because it rewires itself doesn't mean that it's the healthiest thing for it to do. It just gets it to a point where it has the ability to utilize it. But it's still a very unhealthy thing to do. And so then therefore you start becoming unhealthy, and then you start getting all the symptoms of becoming unhealthy. And that's what I talked in the last, now I'm at 46 minutes, the first 10 minutes or so. And so anyways, this whole philosophy is trying to get you back to your roots, if you will. Get back to where you have the ability to use fat as a primary energy source. But it's not easy. Because remember, you have spent 20, 30, 40, 50 years rewiring it into doing something differently. So it's not going to just poof in a week or 2 weeks or in a month or whatever, rewire itself back again and get you to losing weight. And that's one of the things that's tough about the keto plan, is you got to stick through it. Like, it's not all, it's going to be less than some of the other nutritional programs where it's like, I lost 3 pounds in 3 days, I lost 30 pounds in 2 weeks, which is a bunch of crap anyways, but it's not going to be like that. And the reason why it's not going to be like that is because it's going to take most of our bodies to acclimate to this thing. And it's going to take a while because of the intensity that we've been doing the prior stuff for. So anyways, but you are going to hit a tipping point, and your body's going to start utilizing that healthy fat that you're consistently consuming, and it's going to be able to use it, and then it's going to be able to say, oh, it looks like my body's getting a lot of this healthy fat, so all of the unhealthy fat that I have in my body, I'm going to release that because it looks like I'm on a good constant source of healthy fat. So I don't need any of this unhealthy stuff. That's how the body all of a sudden begins to change. And that's how you get body composition changes. And now it's not like Bill Phillips used to say, it's not about being a pear and then becoming a smaller pear. It's about becoming a pear and changing the way that that pear looks, right? Changing the way that your body looks, having that V shape, having those slim hips and then butt and things like that. That is a body composition change, right? And so anyways, that's what happens with that. Now, one of the key things that is a question that always comes up is the amount of carbohydrates. So here's the thing with the keto program that's different than some of these other programs, okay, right? And it's very funny about this. So as many of you know, I like Monday through Thursday, Friday afternoon, I eat super, super healthy. And all I eat is basically a ton of vegetables, some healthy protein, and half of an avocado. Like that's what I eat for lunch and dinner every day, and then I have a shake in the morning, right? And there came a point in which I was eating a ton of this. And I was in the office once, and our president and CFO, Dave Brisky, comes up to me and he's like, "Oh, dude, looks like you're getting a little heavy there. Like those pants are pretty tight." And I was thinking that's like his kind of dry sense of humor, and he's always kind of poking at me, and so I'm like, oh, that's just him being that way, right? But then I was like, oh, dude, I think my pants are actually kind of tight. And then I was walking down the hallway, and Alex Tice, I'm talking to him, and he's like, dude, you're like getting bigger, And I thought he meant like, oh, I'm getting like bigger and stronger, like my arms are. I was like, oh yeah, thanks, I've been like lifting and stuff. He's like, you've been doing squats? And I'm like, no. He's like, oh. He's like, well, you're just getting bigger. Well, he meant like your butt is getting bigger, like your thighs are getting bigger, like you're getting fat. And I was like, oh my gosh, like Dave wasn't lying, okay, right? And then I had to go to New Zealand the next day. I know this is a long story. Australia the next day. I put on my bathing suits. I'm like, oh my gosh, dude, I am getting fat, okay, right? And here's the thing, is that the reason why is because I was eating a lot of those really healthy things. And so I am not a fan, and I have had personal experience of just because you're eating a lot of healthy things, that it's okay to eat a lot of those healthy things, okay, right? Is that there is a box that you need to stay in, okay, right? And that box is a certain amount of calories. That is the guideline, okay, right? Because when you figure out how many calories you should be taking in, then you can figure out how much of fat and how much of carbs and how much protein of those calories should be. So how do you figure that out? So really it's very kind of rough, okay, right? And so I'll actually talk about that later on, maybe in a Facebook post, but you can literally just say, okay, listen, I want to get on a 1,500 calorie plan, or a 1,800 calorie plan, or a 2,000 calorie plan, let's just say, okay, right? And you're going to have to do that with keto, okay, right? Because I don't believe in just eating as much fat as you want, as much protein, okay, right? And so you have to do, and then you have to say with the keto plan, it's going to be 70% of those calories are going to be from fat. 20% of those calories are going to be from protein, and 10% of those calories are going to be from carbohydrates. And you have to calculate that. And then based on that, that's how much of those foods that you consume. When you go to ygyketogenic.com, what I did is I showed you percentages, but I had to build a nutritional plan. So the nutritional plan that's on there is for, I think it's for a 1,200 calorie plan. And I said, listen, just try this. No matter who you are, just try this. If you feel after 30 days that you're just absolutely starving all the time, then go from 1,200 calories to a little bit more calories. Stay in the same proportions, but just you can increase the amount of calories. But I had to start you somewhere, okay, right? So anyways, one of the things, though, that you see me talk about and others talk about is this whole number of 20 net carbs. The reason why that number is so important is because no matter what plan that you're on, 1,200, 1,500, 2,000 calorie plan, whatever, if you are staying within that range of 20 to 30 grams of net carbs, okay, right? And really, if you're doing this intensely, you want to be at 20 net carbs, then you essentially are going to be able to do all of the other things right. Okay, right? And so this is why it's so important, is that when you stay at 20 net carbs, at least it's a quick reminder for all of the things that you're trying to calculate. Don't go over 20. Don't go over 20. And remember, the number one thing, you can kind of screw around with the protein. You can kind of screw around with the fat. But the one thing you cannot screw around with is the carbohydrates. You must make sure that you have significantly reduced or restricted the amount of carbohydrates. And it is not going to be easy. It's like Michelle said this morning, it's like jumping over a cliff. The standard American diet consumes 300 grams of carbohydrates. You want me to go from 300 to 20? Like that's a huge number shift. That's like jumping over a cliff. Yes, it is like jumping over a cliff. Like that's what you got to do if you're in that situation. If you're in a situation in which you've got to lose weight and you've got to become healthy in some way and you want to do it in a short time frame, then you've got to do this work. That's what it takes. Those are the drastic measures that it takes. And fortunately, you're part of a company in which while you're doing it, whatever deficiencies that you're going to have are going to be taken care of because you're consuming the 90 for life. You're consuming one of the healthy body packs. And everyone that's on any of these nutritional plans should be getting on at least one of the healthy body packs and doing it very consistently. So here's the thing, guys. I'm going to be talking a lot more about this weight loss and fat loss because I didn't realize I had this much content, and hopefully it's valuable to you, right? But I wanted to kind of, for sure, number one, set your mind right and set your expectations and realize that, listen, you know what? No matter what we develop here, no matter what we put together, no matter what we put on the site, it's not going to be able to get you to where you need to be unless you get your mind in the right situation. And the first thing is to understand that it is going to be a struggle. It's not going to be easy, but you can do simple things. That's the first thing. Secondly, I need you to know that the second most important thing is going to be your nutritional plan. And you know what? There's a lot of nutritional plans that will work. And the nutritional plan that you want to be on, whether it's the low calorie, high nutrient density, whether it's Dr. Conaway's even digestive program, whether it's on the keto plan, as long as it has low to restrictive carbohydrates, you are going to be a winner. And then the third thing that I wanted to do was I wanted to make sure that you understood one of the major things, obviously, that we've promoted, which is the ketogenic plan, what its philosophy is, and what are the main things. And so hopefully this information was valuable to you. There's probably a few questions that I still missed. I know there was a gallbladder question that Tracy mentioned, and I'll address that on Facebook. But the main thing is it doesn't take a lot for you to be healthy, but it takes a great amount of consistency for you to be healthy. Focus on whatever you're doing allows you the ability to do it consistently, and you'll be successful. So hopefully this was valuable, and I will see you on the next Facebook. Love you guys.